and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of an Evolved Review. I'm your host, James Caleb Kitchens, and I am joined today by none other than Joe Brown, returning back to the show. Joe is from Suplexes and Microphones. Joe, welcome back.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you having me on again.
Yeah, this is a very, very special episode. That's kind of been the theme this season two so far, is all of like the kind of main episodes ends up just being me and Caleb, and then all the special episodes I usually have a guest. So it hasn't intended to work out that way, but that's how it's worked out. We have a momentous topic today, to the point that we were discussing like not being able to figure out what to wear for the show. I was talking about, I have a lot of nerd shirts, and I have a bunch of Marvel ones, and I have a bunch of Star Wars ones. And I decided to just go with a wrestling shirt with some Owen Knight gear, because I could not single out one property. Although I almost wore either a Baby Yoda or an Ahsoka shirt, but we'll get into that.
Mm, very nice. Well,
So
you're war ready, that's for sure.
that's it. That's it. And so is Disney, and that's what we're talking about today. Is just this slew of announcements that Disney has come out with this week. I mean, I know people kind of looked at it like, oh, it's an investor call. Why are they making these announcements on an investor call? People were thinking it was going to be really dry, and the first part was, I watched the whole thing, and the first part was pretty boring. It was a lot of investor type stuff. But then once they kind of handed it over to the creatives in the second half, it was just like being at a convention or anything else.
Yeah, and actually, if you recall, you had to let me know what was going on, and I had to check it out later. But you're right, it did feel Comic Con-ish announcements that were being dropped there.
Yeah, I was messaging you like the whole time, like, "Oh my god, can you believe they're doing this or that?" And there were several people that were receiving those messages from me at the time.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, yeah, I mean the announcements just kept coming. They were very smart. They started with Star Wars, and then they kind of went into like National Geographic, Hulu, some of their Disney Plus exclusives. Which, I mean, let's not forget that Disney may have acquired Marvel and Star Wars, and those are the big tent poles. But Disney's, like, I guess you'd call them first party kind of properties, are also insanely popular the world over. We're talking about the classics like Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, etc., and then like the newer stuff like Frozen and then Moana and stuff like that. Those are popular with children. Those are popular with adults. Um, so we're probably not going to touch on much of that at all today. We're kind of going to stay in our wheelhouse, which is more the Star Wars and Marvel universes. Um, I really wanted to have superhero homie Q on here today to give us his, in-depth kind of feedback and opinions on the Marvel portion of this and Star Wars too. Um, he is a big Star Wars fan as well. But I'm pretty sure that Superhero Homies is actually going to do an episode on this as well. So definitely, if you enjoy this one, or even if you don't, check theirs out, because as we know, Ace, or Superhero Homie Q, as he is on the show, has a ton of in-depth comic book knowledge, probably more than anybody that I know personally.
Yeah, and I'm a patron of those guys as well. I always enjoy the content that they put out, and I'm sure they're going to review it, and I can't wait to hear what they've got to say about all these announcements that Disney has dropped as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna be refreshing the feed, waiting for that one to come up.
Right.
So let's dig into it, man. So here's the thing, that the announcement that really set all this off, and this kind of floored me, man. Is Disney Plus has hit 87 million subscribers.
Right. Well, that's a lot of money coming in, and that's why I guess a lot of content is going to be put out.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about that is, in the U.S. at least, that puts them above Netflix.
Yeah, that's amazing because Netflix is almost like having cable back in the day. Pretty much everyone has Netflix one way or the other.
Yeah,
So for them to outpace Netflix, that's pretty significant.
and Netflix has like a big, either original show or a show of a popular property on pretty much year round. Um,
Right.
and it's very clear based on all these announcements that that's what Disney is trying to do with Disney Plus as well. They kind of want there to always be something new hitting the platform, and that's what we really want. I mean, at least from my perspective, I mean, we can contribute tons of those subscribers to The Mandalorian because Disney also came out a few weeks ago and revealed that The Mandalorian not only is it the most watched thing on Disney Plus, it's 5 times more watched than anything on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I heard you mention that on one of your previous podcasts, and that was mind blowing. That they know where their money's at if they're going to follow up with more Star Wars stuff. I mean, look, I paid for 3 years up front, and it was for Marvel and Star Wars. It wasn't for Mickey Mouse.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a lot of folks is, it'd be interesting to see what kind of numbers they would have if they didn't have the Marvel and Star Wars properties on there. But I think by their own admission, I think they'd be significantly less. I think they'd be probably struggling to hit maybe 25, 30 mil without those properties. And there's a reason that they created this network when they did and not, Disney always could have done this. It's not like they didn't have the resources to do it when Netflix did it. But they have the content now to compete with, I would say, anybody, hands down.
Yeah, well, if not, give them a year. I mean, the
Right.
stuff's going to start dropping next year, and it's just going to be one thing after another, like a waterfall coming down. With good stuff, it's not filler. I don't think it's going to be all good.
Yeah. I mean, Baby Yoda is everywhere. And a lot of people there's a lot of people that would say that like Baby Yoda is actually the star of the show. I would say that for the casuals, it's really genius, right? Because for the more casual fans that are, that want droids, Ewoks, and Porgs, and like stuff like that, Baby Yoda is like amazing, right? Because he's like, not only is he like the cutest out of all those characters, but he's also like really got a lot of mystery around him. He's important to the overall story of Star Wars. We don't know exactly how yet, but you know that he's gonna be. Um, and he's just an important creature because we know how powerful Yoda himself was. um, there is a large portion of the casual fandom that literally don't know where this takes place in the timeline and think that he is actually Yoda as a kid. Uh,
Right.
and I guess that's okay, man, because they're still watching the show. They'll figure it
Yeah.
out, and then I think for us, I think Mando himself is more of the draw from more of the hardcore audience. We've always I think the Star Wars fandom has been obsessed with Boba Fett for a long time, with Mandalorian culture for a long time, and I think this guy walking around in Beskar armor, wrecking shit, and having cool like space battles, and then now spoiler alert for Mandalorian season 2, you're in the wrong spot if you're not current on that. Boba Fett is now actually in the show. They're flying around in Slave One.
Right.
So it is really both sides of that coin that they're catering to at the same time. It's an incredible balance.
It is. It's funny you bring that up because on the way to the gym this morning, myself and my workout partner Steve Bailey, shout out to him. He said, "Man, I was really sad when they kidnapped Baby Yoda." I said, "Screw that kid, man. He's not the star." And he couldn't believe I was saying that, but I couldn't believe. But he's a casual, so you nailed it as far as who they're catering to and who cares about what.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's them being able to do both of those at the same time, I think is the strength of John Favreau, for one. Um,
Definitely.
and because they did it throughout the Iron Man franchise. He directed the Lion King remake, which, regardless of your feelings about that, I have some feelings about that too, but this isn't the place for it. Um, that movie theater was packed with little kids seeing Lion King for the first time and grown ass adults, you know.
Right.
And he
Definitely.
also did the Jungle Book. as well, which had a similar effect.
I didn't know that. I didn't know he did Jungle Book.
Yeah, the most recent, like the live action Jungle Book that they
Yeah.
did. That's actually he talks about this a good bit in the Mandalorian documentary they put out on Disney Plus, where that's actually where they got a lot of this technology, where they developed it because not to make this a making of Mandalorian show, but they actually can take like VR headsets, and the way that they film this, they actually can, like the director can get all the effects in there, like a rough version of all the effects, and they can put on like a VR headset and they can actually walk around in the volume, which is what they call the set, and they can see like what the scene's going to look like. So they can like plan out where the camera's going to be with all the effects and stuff in there. Whereas, 10 years ago, you just had a guy in a suit, in a green suit, holding up a horse on a stick, a horse head on a stick. This is a dragon, and
Yeah.
Ian McKellen's over there in his like Gandalf robe, and everything else is just green screen. You
Right.
know, so uh, yeah, I mean it's a really interesting kind of development of the technology, and that technology is also why they've been able to continue to make the show in the COVID era.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Because they can literally have you come in and film your stuff, and then you leave, and somebody else comes in, and then whoever's in the Mando suit that day. I mean, obviously you know, they're protecting themselves, right? They're they're in full body suit,
Got a mask on.
yeah, and refuse to take it off. Uh,
Right.
so let's dig into it, man. Because I feel like we could sit here for 2 hours and just talk broadly about this stuff. So speaking of Mandalorian, and this is, they obviously, like you said, they know where their bread and butter is. So John Favreau, and we assume Dave Filoni. I haven't been able to get like confirmation 100% that Filoni will be involved with both of these shows, but they have announced that Favreau will kind of expand what I am now coining the Mandoverse, um, with a Rangers of the New Republic show that will feature Cara Dune, since she is the High Marshal of the Outer Rim now. And then also, Ahsoka Tano will receive her own show, which, as we kind of can guess from Mandalorian, that she will be hunting down Grand Admiral Thrawn. I don't see any possibility or reality where Dave Filoni is not directly involved in that show.
No, he should be involved. And it's confirmed that Rosario Dawson is Ahsoka again, right?
Yes.
Okay. I
You know,
couldn't
my
find anything on that.
my
So,
my original take on season two Mandalorian, when I found out we were going to get Ahsoka, was I thought that we would get her at the very end. Like maybe he was going to arrive at whatever planet, he was going to have the child, Grogu, as we now can call him. We don't have to call him the child anymore, or Baby Yoda for that matter.
right.
And I will correct everyone from now on. Uh, and so I was thinking Mando walks up, maybe we get the lightsabers turn on, fade to black, and I couldn't have been any more wrong when I saw him. That the after episode 5, when I saw that the next episode was going to be titled The Jedi, and that Filoni was writing and directing it, I said that's going to be it, obviously, because that's his baby. You know, for those of you who may be watching or listening to this and don't know, Ahsoka is from the Clone Wars series, which Filoni like helped create right alongside George Lucas. So, um, she was also in Star Wars Rebels, which he also was like the showrunner for, basically. So, this character is kind of his creation, and everything, with her becoming mainstream and going into live action, he's got his hands all over it, and that's honestly what I want as a fan, anyway.
Yeah. So you expected, I don't know if you recall season 2 Walking Dead, the very final scene was when Michonne got revealed. That's what you thought was going to happen with Ahsoka, basically.
Yeah, I thought we were
Right.
getting
Yeah.
exactly that. I thought
Yeah.
I thought we'd get her, lightsabers turn on. You you know those casual fans like that we talked about earlier are all gonna go, "That's they got a lightsaber, like it's a Jedi, whatever." And then, the hardcore folks are gonna be like, "That's fucking Ahsoka Tano," So it's
Right.
like we said, they know how to pop both sides of that fan base at the same time, and they still did it
Sure.
anyway. I mean, but we just got 40 minutes of it instead of, that one moment.
Very satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think about these 2 shows, man? Do you obviously the Ahsoka one is probably more of a sure hit. I Rangers of the New Republic kinda shocked me. I mean, I know Cara Dune is popular, but I know that they've had the kinda X-Wing pilots out patrolling the rim, and they've been a big part of season 2 of Mandalorian. What do you think about these 2 shows?
I mean, like you said, Ahsoka, that's probably a easy home run for them. Probably going to be heavy with the special effects and things like that. Whereas Rangers of the New Republic will probably have more of a Rogue One feel, where they're running around not having any special powers or anything like that. More of a street style Marines, I guess, handling business for the Republic. But I look forward to that one. Obviously, I want to see Ahsoka more than from what I know right now than the Rangers. But yeah,
Yeah. Um, I'm very interested in both of them. I really think they'll both do well. I'm sure we're gonna get. They made sure to say these both take place in the same time frame as the Mandalorian, and they've already announced a crossover event between the
wow,
3 shows. So I don't know if they're gonna do like they did with. I don't know if it's gonna be a CW thing where maybe we get an episode of Mandalorian, an episode of Rangers of the New Republic, an episode of the Ahsoka show, whatever that's going to be called. Um, I don't know if we get that. I don't know if they're going to do it like Defenders style, where maybe we get season 3 of Mandalorian, season 1 of Ahsoka, season 1 of Rangers of the New Republic, and then we get like a short 2, 3, 4 episode, whatever crossover series. I mean, with it being their own platform, they can do this however they want.
right, definitely,
And they got these people under contract for probably forever.
forever, no doubt.
Yeah. So, and I mean, really, the only person that I think they're probably in any danger of like losing to them being insanely popular is probably Pedro Pascal, and he doesn't give a shit because he didn't even have to be there. Like, so they can have the other 2 actors do all the stuff in the suit for the most part, and then he can just do the lines from his house.
Right, he could.
So,
I'm kind of surprised because I thought Cara Dune was going to get killed off here soon, but apparently not.
yeah, I don't know if you do you mean that because of the kind of stuff that the actress herself got caught up in, like publicly,
I mean,
or
yeah, the social media stuff aside, I just kind of felt like if there's a showdown here in Mandalorian coming up, she'd be the sacrificial lamb, and then we hear all about this, social media issue that Disney may or may not act on, and I thought, yeah, she's gonna be gone.
yeah, I thought so too. I'm pretty sure that somebody probably sat down with her and said, "Just don't say anything about this ever again." And she was probably like, "Okay," because I can't see if they haven't had that conversation. I can't see them putting her in a larger role. I'm surprised there hasn't been a lot of Twitter backlash on that, but we'll see how that goes.
Right.
Um, maybe there has, and I just haven't seen it, and it'll probably stay that way. Um, so moving away from the Mandoverse, I'm trademarking that. So
You should.
one of the ones that I'm really excited about, and this is really the only one of these that we got like a legit trailer for, is Star Wars Bad Batch. Which this is a really interesting kind of if you weren't into like Clone Wars, you probably aren't familiar with this property at all because it's kind of a kind of niche little segment of Star Wars lore.
Right. Yeah, no, I watched the trailer and I liked what I saw, but I want to see more. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So basically, there's an episode of Clone Wars called The Bad Batch, and it's about a group of like troopers. And this was originally supposed to be the first episode of the ill-fated season 7 of Clone Wars, which they never got to make until Disney Plus came around, and then they came back and finished the show. Um, but Bad Batch is basically it's a group of clones that underwent like these experimental like mutations, and so they all have like additional abilities and things like that that the regular troopers don't have. And that's when gonna be something that's really interesting about the show. It's not just gonna be a bunch of clone troopers running around. And then the show looks to have a really heavy Imperial sort of theme to it. So we're kind of going to get to see a lot more of like the ins and outs of the Empire, which I think be an attraction for a lot of folks.
Yeah, that's going to be good. And you told me this is right up my son's alley, and I think you're right.
There's a lot of action in that trailer too, man.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm excited about that one. Up next, and these announcements. I mean, if you didn't watch the show and you're not familiar with these, you're just hearing them for the first time now. 20 minutes from now, you're going to be like, are these guys going to stop? No, there's so much stuff here. So the next thing on the docket here is they announced that they're going to do a Lando Calrissian TV show.
Yes.
Um, and that is going to be directed by Justin Simeon, which I believe is the Dear White People from Netflix show director, if I'm
Okay.
not mistaken. Um, I'll fact check myself on that real quick. Um, however, they one thing that about this show that bothers me is they did not directly confirm that they were going to have Donald Glover.
Maybe they're still in talks.
Yeah, and I wonder how that's going to go. You know, honestly, if they don't get him, if they have to recast him, right? Because it's all that'll be like the third actor to play the role in a very short amount of time.
Right.
Because we got him in the Solo movie, and his performance as Lando, in my opinion, was even better than the original. I can't think of that actor's name off the top of my head right now.
Billy D. Williams.
Yes, thank you. If I didn't need to think about it, I would have been able to pull it right up. So I liked his Lando even better than Billy D. Williams, and Billy D. Williams is the character, you know, um, and he was fantastic. They were both fantastic in their own right. So it would be hard to me to strike gold a third time, you know, with that
Right.
if they can't get Donald Glover, especially since so many people will watch it just because it's Donald Glover.
That's true. That's true.
So
But I don't know if I agree that he's better than Billy D. Williams, but
right,
they're both great.
right. Um, and it's either way, but I don't think anybody. I never heard anybody go. You know what? Donald Glover's portrayal of Lando was just off, and he didn't do a good job, or whatever.
You're
You know,
right.
and he looked
You're
amazing
right.
in the outfit.
Yep. I agree.
So we'll see how it goes if they don't get him. It's almost like a it's kind of almost the same scenario of like you know, eventually they're gonna have to recast Magneto and Professor X, right? How do you strike gold on that 3 times in a row? Because the
There,
first two actors to play either character were amazing.
yeah, but you can't beat Fassbender, man.
Right, you can't.
You
You can't.
can't.
I know you're a diehard Magneto fan, and I am
Yeah.
as well. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know where you go from there. No other actor comes to my mind when I think, you know, who could play that role. So it's the same way with Lando. I can't think of off the top of my head somebody that could play him. I mean, obviously that's a much, in my opinion, a much easier character to portray than Magneto because Magneto has all these layers. Um, but it would still just be tough to recast him again.
Yeah. Definitely.
Um, what do you think about the Cassian Andor show? Because this is not an announcement. They just kind of this has been announced. But there was a footnote basically where they said, "Hey, don't forget that we're also doing this." Diego Luna is the main character's name. I got to be honest. Out of everything that's on this list, this is the thing I'm the least excited about.
That's exactly how I felt. I was like, now which one is this again? You know. So that you know what though, it may surprise us both. It may
It
come
might.
out and kill it, and you and I are like raving about it and buying Cassian Andor shirts after that.
If
But
if that
but right
happens,
now,
brother, I would be very I would eat crow on that one.
yeah, I'd be happy to though if it's great. Shoot.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch it. I'll give it a shot.
Right, right.
But
It's just it is an odd choice though.
yeah, I'm not a fan of any of the rebels in Rogue One. Like at all. I cheered at the end of that movie when the Empire blew them all up. Spoilers for Rogue One.
Yeah.
So
Well, I love Rogue One, but that doesn't mean other characters deserve their own shows or movies.
yeah, I love Rogue One now. It grew on me. I didn't like it at first. But like this, but like Cassian Andor, I've never been like, man, Cassian Andor is cool as hell. You know what I'm saying? At no
Right,
point ever. So this has always been like the huge question mark to me of why. I mean, they must have some grand pitch for what they're going to do with this because his character development, he's kind of this like slimy guy going into Rogue One. And then you kind of see him throughout the movie in a different light. And I'm like, well, this has got to be a prequel. It can't be a sequel because he's dead. So
right.
is he just going to be this like, they're not going to make the main like protagonist this like really slimy dude. Um, so I don't know.
Well, I don't know. You and I both like the Shield.
That's true. That's true. But I could never see the Shield being on Disney.
Well, no,
Um,
but you know what I'm saying. A slimy dude
yeah,
that is supposed to be a good guy, but he's got his own little issues. You know, it can work.
it can. Yeah, yeah, I could see it. Um, So here's one that surprised me and that I am really excited about. They also announced that from Leslie Headland is coming a brand new show called Acolyte, which is going to be a High Republic era Star Wars show. I am really excited about this because, uh, I mean, first off, the High Republic era is something that is very appealing to me, and we're talking about like the High Republic is, I believe, 600 years before Star Wars Episode One.
Okay.
So you've got Yoda as like a Jedi Knight, right? That's like that era.
Okay.
And supposedly this is going to be like when the dark side first started to like sort of regain power leading up to Palpatine's rise 600 years later. So this is like the Sith like sort of re-emerging back into the galaxy. Um I'm excited
Mm.
about exploring a new era of Star Wars that we haven't seen before because the last time that we really got to do that was Star Wars: The Old Republic, which anybody that's familiar with the Old Republic video games, they are some of like the first Star Wars: Old Republic. For anybody who's played through that, I think it's probably their favorite Star Wars video game, at least for anybody I've ever talked to, and it's one of the most well reviewed Star Wars games ever. And a lot of people are, every time they're like, "Hey, we're making a new Star Wars game," the fandom has this huge outcry of like, "Please give us Old Republic," and then Disney's like, "No."
Hmm.
So I'm excited to explore a new era of Star Wars and the kind of getting away from that Skywalker saga era and them just having kind of the creative freedom to number one have this like huge like Jedi Academy and like the get to see like more of like the Jedi like presence in the galaxy and like how you know the council and everything and the Republic worked when they were like really functional before everything got so screwed up in the main movies. I'm excited about that. I mean, what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, now that you've explained it that way, I'm kind of excited too. At first, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know about this, but it's got some elements with a lot of potential for sure. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a while before we get it though. I don't think we get it in 2021 even.
Yeah, well, they got plenty of other things coming, so we can wait on that one.
Yeah, I mean if they schedule this right, I mean so let's just talk about what we got so far. So we got Mando and the two shows that accompany it. So three shows in the Mandoverse: Bad
Right.
Batch, Lando, Andor, Acolyte. If those are 8 episode seasons, right? then they could pretty much have every Friday, they could have a new episode all year of a Star Wars TV show.
That'd be amazing.
You know, we could get Mando and then Mando season finale next week, Rangers of the New Republic, 8 episodes of that next week, Ahsoka, you know, then the Mandoverse takes their break, then we get a Bad Batch for 8, 10 episodes. I mean, they could do more than that. They could do Bad Batch like Clone Wars, and they could do 22 episode seasons. They could have it running at the same time as some of these other shows.
Right.
Um, One of the other announcements that they had is that they're gonna have some little anime type short films. I don't know that they if they announced, any of the, topics for those officially. I didn't really catch them, but, we did see, that they are gonna do those, which that has me a little bit excited because, have are you familiar with the original Clone Wars?
Yes.
Yeah, I love those,
Yeah,
and
they're great.
one of the reasons I could never it took me forever to get into this, like, CG one is because I loved the little, like, shorts that they did so much, and I loved that storyline, and so when they tried to stretch it out into, like, 200 episodes or whatever, whereas the original was, like, 2 hours, that bothered me, and I never like, it took me a long time to grasp on to the newer, sort of expanded Clone Wars format. So, if these movies are gonna be anything like those, then I'm excited for it.
Absolutely.
And then to cap it off for me, this
Yeah, I knew
is
this was coming.
yeah, there's a reason that I put this last on the list of the shows, because this is one of those ones where it's like, "Alright, I gotta dig into this." The Kenobi show, this is not an announcement for, this show, this has been confirmed for a while. There is rumor out there that it's only gonna be 6 episodes, but that could have changed.
Hmm.
Um, I don't care how it could be 1 episode, and I would be just as excited for it. So, as we know, Ewan McGregor is returning as Obi-Wan Kenobi, my favorite Star Wars character, period. Um, and that is going to be directed by Deborah Chow. She's actually a director of 2 episodes of The Mandalorian in season 1. I can't remember what the other episode she directed is, but I know she directed the one where they do the heist on the prison, the one that has Bill Burr in it.
Right.
And that was a great episode. And so I've got a lot of faith in her as a director. And then the announcement that they had in relation to this was that Hayden Christensen would return as Darth Vader.
Yeah, I was shocked to hear that one.
I was shocked to hear that too because when Disney first purchased Star Wars, and this is the best time to talk about this, there was this urge kind of from I think the older Star Wars fans and then from Disney to be like, let's get away from the prequels as much as possible. We have to
Right.
distance ourselves from the prequels. People don't like them. Let's remake episode 4. And I promise this will not turn into me shitting on the sequel trilogy for the next 25 minutes because I could. Um we should probably do an episode about that just so I can reference back to it in the
It
future.
it'd be longer than 25 minutes, but go ahead.
You're right, you're right. Alright, guilty as charged. Uh, that being said, they said, "We're gonna remake A New Hope, basically, with some additional characters. Here's episode 7," and they basically tried to stay away from the prequel trilogy as much as humanly possible, and I think they found out after the fact that people don't really hate the prequel trilogy. There's a lot of elements in the prequels that people loved a lot. There are things in the prequels that people also didn't like. Um, the dialogue is one of them, and that's a problem that is very easily fixed if you decide to revisit these characters. So
Right.
that being said, man, I think at Star Wars Celebration a few years ago, this probably was what really opened their eyes to this. Is they announced that Hayden Christensen was going to be there. He had not been to a Star Wars Celebration since they were filming the prequels, and instantly, like badge like pre-orders for that Star Wars Celebration broke all records,
Whoa.
and he also then broke all records at the convention as like the most requested guest because at Star Wars Celebration, you buy that stuff in advance, like for the big actors. Like if you want to meet so and so, you buy like a little pass to meet them, and then they give you, it's just like when we met Ric Flair at Dragon Con. It's the same kind of deal, right? You get
Right, right.
a time slot and a group number or whatever, and you arrive at this time. And I had a friend of mine that did it, and I mean, she ended up in that line, even though she pre-bought it, like you have to, for like 3 hours. And like the line, like he got the most of those buys. Like his line was like wrapped around the place. They could not get people through there fast enough. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, and you would think like, it would be like Harrison Ford or Mark Hamill or whatever. And maybe it's because those people had been there a lot, you know, and he had just kind of been gone for a long time. And a lot of people, you know, kind of put the blame on him or even think that he's not a good actor
Yeah.
because of the, kind of shitty dialogue that was in those films. But I think he's a good actor. Like there's other movies that he's in where he's very good, I think. Um Awake is probably one of those movies to watch if you want to see where he's actually a great actor. Um Although that movie's absolutely terrifying. So, look up what the movie's about before you watch that one.
Okay.
Have you seen it? Have you seen it?
I have not seen that one.
Okay, so what it's about briefly, not to go on a tangent about this, but basically it's like he's like this kind of like rich guy or whatever, and he's having, I think it's like a heart transplant. It's some super major operation, and he like doesn't go under. Like he's still completely aware of what's happening, but he's like paralyzed from the anesthesia. So like you're kind of in his head while they're performing this like surgery on him, and he finds out that there's this intricate like plot to like actually kill him,
Dang.
so that they can inherit his wealth. It's a good movie, yeah. But yeah, I mean it's horrifying. Like you don't want to like watch it and then go have surgery.
Right.
um, but it's good, and he's very good in it. But him returning to the fandom, man, I think that I think the reaction from the fans for that, I think that really opened a lot of people's eyes to like, hey, the fandom does like him. It's not this thing where people just hate the prequels. Now, don't go bringing Jar Jar Binks around because
Right.
that's like 70% of the hate for the prequel trilogy right there.
It is.
you know, and I mean, like Darth Maul. Everyone loves Darth Maul.
Of course.
People even what's that Christopher Lee's character? Why can I not think of his name right now? This is making me look like a horrible podcast host. Um, Count Dooku. People like Count Dooku.
Yeah.
That whole Clone Wars, the popularity of the Clone Wars show. The Clone Wars is set in the prequel era, so I'm glad that they're turning the page on that, and I'm really excited to see what happens here. I don't think. Here's the thing though, is maybe they're just gonna get him for some flashbacks, and maybe he'll be like in the suit, but it can't be
Hmm.
his voice unless he's gonna like take the helmet off. Because if he's got the
Yeah.
helmet on, it's got to be James Earl Jones. Damn it!
Right.
I won't settle for anything else on that. I put my foot down on that one. Well, I mean, it's even canon. In episode 3, they lower the helmet down on him. The breath comes out, and then it's James Earl Jones from that point.
Right.
So, maybe they're gonna have him like strangle some stormtroopers and like take the helmet off or whatever. I don't know.
Now, just to confirm, Ryan Johnson is the director of this, right?
No, no, no. As a matter of fact, we're about to get into the films, and I'm very happy. And let's just use this as a segue. I'm incredibly happy that the Ryan Johnson trilogy they were writing appears to have been completely scrapped.
Yeah, as it should be.
Yeah, I mean Kathleen Kennedy's like a huge fan of him, which is probably why she let him write and direct a Star Wars film with no oversight whatsoever, and then put it out. Uh, um, yeah, I really, if he is making a trilogy, I definitely will not go see it. I have gone to great lengths to make sure that none of my money ever finds its way into Ryan Johnson's pocket ever again. But yeah, I'm happy that they stuck to just the two films that they talked about. So one of them is from somebody that we know, which is Taika Waititi. He's developing two movies on this list. Um, Now, regardless of what people might think about Thor Ragnarok, because that's what a lot of people think about when he gets mentioned, it is important to also mention that he did direct the season finale of Mandalorian season one, which people really, really loved.
True.
Um, so I definitely am excited to see what he does with his movie. I think it's interesting that we still don't have a title for it.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I'll give him a shot despite Thor Ragnarok.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like you did a property that I think you did a bad job with, and then you also worked on a property that I think you did a great job with. So it could go either way. Willing to give it a chance. I'm definitely,
This this is the tiebreaker.
yeah. Unless it's called like March of the Ewoks or some shit, then I'll probably go see it. Um,
March of the Ewoks.
the other movie that they announced though is a big deal. They announced that they're going to do Star Wars Rogue Squadron, which they didn't give us a lot of details about that. I'm assuming that they are referring to the Rogue Squadron that is from the video game and is referenced in a lot of the films and other properties. So we'll kind of see, as far as I know. But it is going to be directed by Patty Jenkins, who is the director of both Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 1984, and presumably whatever the third Wonder Woman movie is going to be. What did you think about this? Because this was out of nowhere for me.
Yeah, I mean it could be great. As you know, I like the down and dirty stuff without the Force and without the Jedi influence, like Rogue One. Um, for the most part. So I think this could be something that ends up being one of my favorites. Again,
Yeah.
depending on exactly what it is.
Yeah, I have a lot of love for both aspects of that in the Star Wars universe, right? Like, um, I love like Boba Fett fighting stormtroopers with a gaffy stick, and
Absolutely.
and then I also love a damn good like lightsaber battle, you know. So either side of it is great for me. I think that in terms of the shows and everything, they have strayed more towards that side of it though. Whereas the movies are all like super heavily focused on the Force, and
Right.
so it'll be interesting. It looks like we're gonna get a bit of a flip of that. It looks like in the movies they're gonna take a little break from the Force, and then we're gonna get some TV shows that have more of like the Jedi stuff in them, like with Ahsoka, and then so it's gonna flip a little bit. So it's nice to see them sort of branching out both sides of the property like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'll look forward to that one.
Uh, huge props if they actually go into, if like Mando ever has to fight like a Force user, and they kind of go into like the old school Mandalorians. I don't know if you know about this, but the old school Mandalorians reverted when they were fighting the Jedi. They reverted to like regular ammunition, like would be used today. Like they were using like slugs.
Oh yeah.
And the reason for that is if you shoot a slug at somebody and they try to deflect it with their lightsaber, it explodes all over them.
Nice.
They can't deflect it back at you. So
Right.
that'll be cool. We got the EMP from Slave One, the shockwave. So maybe we'll get that a reference to that too.
Yeah,
Um,
that'd be great.
just quickly on that, I remember when they're chasing them up. Huge spoilers for latest Mandalorian. They're chasing Slave One out, and I'm like, if he deploys that EMP, I'm gonna lose my shit. And then he did it. uh, yeah, and that was an amazing moment. Just had to nerd out about that. So overall, the Star Wars slate, the movies they've announced, the TV shows they've announced, what's your kind of overall thoughts on this, man? Like, what are you most excited about, least excited about?
Definitely excited about Ahsoka and the Rangers. And for the movies, the Rogue Squadron, like we mentioned, those are the ones that I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I think it's a good slate.
It is.
I think it covers I think they kind of dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's. Um, as far as what I'm most excited about, I think that's a tie between Kenobi. If I have to pick one, it's Kenobi, but Ahsoka is right there, you
Yeah, I knew
know.
you'd say that.
And then more Mandalorian, man. I mean, it's not, obviously not going anywhere. Season
Right.
3 already has a release date, Christmas Day,
Cr-
2021.
Really? Okay.
Yes, that was part of the announcements as well. We kind of skipped over that, but yeah. So they've already said Christmas Day, 2021, Mandalorian season 3 debuts. So we're gonna have to wait over a year for the next season. Maybe we'll get more episodes. Maybe we get a 10 episode season. That would be great.
Yeah, that would.
Um, that being said, man, that wraps up kind of the Star Wars portion. And when they did these announcements, they did it real smart. They opened up with Star Wars. They brought out all these announcements. Then, like I said, they went into National Geographic, Hulu, Disney Originals, and then as they're getting done with all that stuff, I'm just sitting there like, Kevin Feige, come on, you know, yeah, Kevin Feige, where are you? You know, I was like, and they're gonna save him for last because he is the, say what you want, Kevin Feige is the moneymaker. You know, if there's anybody at Disney that people have faith in, it's Kevin Feige. Um, and so he came out at the end, and boy, did he drop everything. Um, okay, so most of the stuff on this slate, we talked about it being sort of almost like a Comic Con type thing. There weren't any trailers really for any of the stuff that they talked about. Bad Batch got a trailer, but everything else was just like, hey, we're doing this. These are the people that are going to be in it. This is the date it's going to come out, or we're shooting for, whatever. And some stuff didn't even get that much. Kevin Feige comes out. We're very excited that WandaVision is coming in January. So like in like 5 weeks, we're getting WandaVision. Boom.
Yes.
Here's a full trailer. I don't know what to think about. I'll just go ahead and preface this. All the shows that we got trailers for the most part, I have no idea what they're going to be about. Um, this show looks like a complete and total mind fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Watching the trailer, I watched it twice, and things like elements of Stranger Things came to mind, and
Yeah,
suspense and things like that. It kind of starts light and with a little comedy, but then you start getting into what is really going on here. This is very suspenseful. So, I mean, I almost see. I don't know. They're gonna have a lot more drama in that than you would expect. Let me put it that way.
right. I agree entirely. Um, I think that things are going to go off the rails pretty quickly. I think we get one, maybe 2 episodes where that where they're kind of hinting at, kind of what's happening, and then I think they'll slowly reveal it over time. Um, we'll drop back to WandaVision in a minute, as it relates to the MCU as a whole, because when it comes to Marvel, the crazy thing, is that they've managed to juggle all this stuff so that all these properties are integrated with each other. And like we were impressed with it when they were doing it with 3 or 4 movies. Now they're doing it with like 12 TV shows and like 20 movies, you know?
Right.
Um, so next, he said, "Here's Falcon and Winter Soldier. Here's the first footage from it. Roll the trailer." This was really interesting to me. This is probably the one out of these first, couple of shows, the ones because this isn't an announcement. We knew this was coming. It was supposed to actually be out already. It was supposed to come out in like November.
Right.
We were supposed to already have this, but it's 2020, so um, I was excited when they said they were going to roll the trailer for this one. What did you think about the trailer?
One thing that got me excited was the description. They said this is a cinematic experience played out over 6 episodes. So essentially, it's almost like getting a couple of movies kind of cut into pieces here. Um, and looking at it, it looks like I don't know what you know about the villains or the what appear to be the villains. It's supposed to be kind of related to Baron Zemo. Maybe he's at the helm, and you got flag smashers going on here.
Yeah,
Um, It looks good. I was concerned this was going to turn into a buddy cop style comedy, but watching the trailers it did not appear. A little bit of humor at the end of the trailer, but overall it looked action packed. So that's what I wanted. So it got me very excited about that. And
Yes, I mean,
did they say March? I think was the
yes.
so right behind WandaVision.
Sam and Bucky have always had that kind of buddy cop kind of feel, but they've also been serious characters. So as long as they keep that relationship and that tone, I'll be very happy with it.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I was very interested in this. What I think is really interesting is at the beginning of the trailer, he talks about the shield very like reverently. He says there's something about that shield, and he doesn't have it in the trailer.
Right.
So I wonder if we're going to see this kind of journey for him where he's reluctant to take up the shield because, I mean, obviously, I mean, let's be honest. Steve Rogers like an amazing person. He's Sam Wilson's mentor. You know, um, is he reluctant to take up the shield and finally he does it out of desperation? Do they go that route, or is there some other reason why he doesn't have it? And you mentioned Baron Zemo, and Zemo is in the trailer briefly from Civil War.
Okay.
Yeah, he is in there for just a second, so he's definitely in there. I'm interested to see this, man. You mentioned the cinematic experience. This was indistinguishable from the MCU to me as far as visual quality.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it looked like something you'd have to go to the theater to see for sure.
And I mean, I'm a like big like video file. You know me, like everything's got to be like crisp. I don't even like compressed 4K if I can avoid it. I want
Right.
it straight off the disc. So I was looking at it like, hey, visually this looks really good. Um, so we'll see. As long as they keep the tone and the presentation of these characters from the MCU, they feel true to those characters. I don't see where they can go wrong with this show.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, Here was one that I was very shocked we got a trailer for, and out of the stuff that I wasn't already excited about, I think I was the most intrigued by this. Did you get a chance to watch the trailer for Loki?
Did I? Anybody that has not watched that trailer, stop us for a second, hit pause, go check that out. And even if you dislike Loki, I think you'll find the trailer very interesting.
Yeah, I was of the opinion that Tom Hiddleston had kind of gotten to the point where he'd overstayed his welcome in the MCU because the character's popular, right? And I like Loki as a character, but it was like you could tell they just were kind of continuously looking for reasons to shoehorn him back in because of that. And
Right.
you know, I think I didn't want them to undermine his death in Infinity War.
Yeah,
Um,
no, you're right about that.
and they found a good way to not do that, I think. And I like that
Yeah,
they led with the end game scene where he gets the cube and everything.
right. Right, exactly. Yeah, and I don't like going to the comics. I don't like Thor. I don't care for Loki, but the movies have definitely made me a fan of Loki.
Yeah.
Not
And
Thor, but still Loki.
And if you go and watch this trailer, I think it's hard to not be excited about this show because I watched it like 6 times and I have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I want to know more. The two scenes that are really intriguing to me is number one, Heimdall snatching him out of the air with the Bifrost. Because Heimdall is one of my favorite MCU characters, and I think he's drastically underused. Um, it may just be that I think Idris Elba is really cool, but like Heimdall is just such a cool character to me in general. So him snatching him out of the air with the Bifrost was cool as hell. I also really loved the scene where I'm pretty sure that they gave us a little glimpse of Nat on Vormir in the trailer. Is Scarlett Johansson in the show as Black Widow? I don't know. I mean, there's just so many questions.
Yeah. Yeah. That trailer of all of them to me was the best one because like you said, I don't know what's going on, but I got to know more.
Yeah, I have this intense desire to know more about what's happening. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so speaking of that exactly the exact thing, they showed us a little bit of What If, which is the animated series that they announced a long time ago. So when they first announced these shows for Disney Plus, these are the ones that they announced. They announced WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, and What If. And
Right.
What If is kind of this alternate timeline. What if this happened instead? How would it have played out? And it's going to be animated. I was not a fan of the animation style, if we're being honest, but they might clean that up. I was not a fan of Into the Spider Verse's animation style either, but that movie was great. So
Yeah. No.
we'll see. Um, but the one that we get kind of the extended preview of here is it looks like they're going with like a Captain Britain um, type setup.
Yeah, but it's Peggy Carter though,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kinda like they're gonna do like Peggy Carter ends up getting the serum, and she's gonna be Captain Britain as Peggy
Right.
Carter. Um, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
And the other one, I don't was it T'Challa becomes Star Lord?
Yeah, where instead of them capturing, damn it, what's his Peter Quill, they end up getting T'Challa from Wakanda, and he becomes Star Lord. I'm really interested in that. And it looks like they got Michael Rucker back as Yondu.
Yeah, the voice was dead on.
Yeah, the many of the voice actors have reprised their roles, and what I wanna know is, did they get, um, Chadwick Boseman to do the voice before he passed?
I
Is
was
that his
wondering that
voice?
I was wondering that same thing, and there's no way to tell. You figure it's probably just one episode though, right?
Yeah, it's
So it's
close.
possible.
I know Robert Downey Jr. Had already recorded his stuff a while back.
Okay.
He recorded his stuff, like, while he was still under contract with them.
Nice.
So, who knows? But that'll be a very emotional episode if so.
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
the little bit that's in the trailer was close. I mean, it was close to his voice. It could have been him.
Yeah.
So that's all the stuff that was pre-announced. I'm excited about What If, man. Like I think there's so many cool things they could do with that. Um, but those are all the ones that they pre-announced. Then we got into the stuff that had either been heavily rumored or announced with no info whatsoever. The next one that they talked about was Miss Marvel, which is no real surprise because she was like kind of the breakout character in the Avengers video game that they did. Unfortunately, that was a incredibly failed project that I'm sure Disney is none too happy with. Um, to the point that they did not mention it in any way in any of this stuff. And I don't blame them because it is seen as like a colossal failure that's never even going to make its like production money back. But
Wow.
she is like the kind of big addition to the team in that. So it's not surprising to me that they started making um a Miss Marvel show. How do you feel about this? Because I feel like you probably got some feelings on this property, or do you like just is it just not really on the radar to you at all?
Um, I'll certainly watch it, but definitely they're doing different take. This is a Pakistani thing,
Yeah,
um, based on everything I read and the actors and that sort of thing. So we'll just have to see. I'm not gonna pass judgment on anything regarding that show yet. I'll check it out.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the girl's name is, Iman Vellani. I hope I didn't butcher that too bad. She's gonna play Kamala Khan, which is the, titular character for the show. It'll be interesting, man. It had kind of a, like, kids show vibe in the footage that they showed to me.
Yeah,
It had like a, just sort of like Disney Channel kids TV show, but maybe where there's superpowers vibe to it. And I'm not saying that there's not a market for that. I think there definitely is,
yeah,
but I don't know if it's something I'll be interested in. Like I said, same thing you said. I'll watch it.
yeah.
Whether I keep watching it is another story.
Exactly.
And her. the reason she goes by Miss Marvel, for those of you who don't know at home, is because her idol and favorite superhero is Captain Marvel. So I know that she has that in common with you.
I'm hang up now and would do not invite me back.
For those of you who don't know, Joe absolutely hates Captain Marvel. And I'm
No,
not a
I
I'm not a
hated
big
the
fan.
Captain Marvel movie.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe not Danvers as a character, period, but just the movie.
Yeah, well, my Captain Marvel is a black female named Monica. So
Ah, okay. Well, um, so so how do you feel about her kind of being more front and center in Captain Marvel 2 then?
I don't know, front and center. I saw her show up in the clip for sure,
Well,
but
more front and center.
you
And
know,
she could be in this show as well.
yeah, and maybe she should be. Um, but enough about Captain Marvel.
All right. Moving on. So I know that you are really excited about this one. I'm really excited about this one. So they officially announced that we're going to get Moon Knight.
Yes.
Um, what's your feelings on that, man? They didn't show anything or really say a whole lot about it.
Yeah. You ready to do 30 minutes of Moon Knight?
Yeah, sure.
Well, obviously they got a good actor, which is good. Oscar Isaac.
Yeah,
For
I'm
people
really
that
excited about that.
Yeah, for people that don't know anything about Moon Knight, you want to talk about a complex character. This guy has identity disorder, and in the comics, he doesn't even really know what the heck's going on. He kind of plays a vigilante, and that style of hero or anti-hero is one of my favorites anyway. Without seeing anything else, I can't wait to see how they do this. And I wonder if it's going to be kind of pushing a rated R boundary for the show. I would hope so.
Yeah.
But that, it's Disney, so maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they definitely aren't gonna try to go heavy into the kid tones with this show. I hope they don't really try to PG it up. I mean, really, Moon Knight really needs to be a rated R property.
Which
I
is yeah, yeah,
I don't think we will get that. We may get edgy PG-13,
yeah.
which I would
Yeah,
be okay
probably.
with if
Yeah,
it's done right.
if they do it right.
Right. But they are gonna. I mean, they are gonna continue making Deadpool. So at some point, there will be a rated R program on Disney Plus. There is no avoiding that.
Good.
So they should start with this. I feel like.
Yeah, they could. And see, if it tanks, then they know, okay, we'll only do that in the future. And then you didn't lose something big because Moon Knight, you're talking about a C or D list character.
Right. But a lot
So
of
you're
people
not,
are hyped for this.
yeah, but you're not sacrificing Captain America or someone like that.
Right. Yeah.
So this could be their experiment into the R rated range or something close to it.
And they are known for taking those sort of C and D list characters and turning them into absolute stars. Um, Rocket Raccoon comes to mind. It's hard to think of him as a C or D character, but if I told you 10 years ago, hey man, Rocket Raccoon is going to be prominently featured in the number one and number two best selling films of 2019 and 2020,
Right,
and a prominent character in the best selling, highest grossing film of all time,
right,
you would have taken that bet.
right.
um, and let's not forget that in 2005, Iron Man was a C or D list character to a lot of people.
Yeah, I wouldn't go D,
No,
but
but if you walked up to an average person on the street and said, "Name 5 Iron Man villains," they might not have been able to name one.
you're right,
You know, uh, and now that's hard to even think about.
right,
So when they started making the MCU, these were not in the public eye. These were not the all-star cast. These were not the prime properties that everybody knew about from Marvel. That was like your Spider-Man, your Wolverine, those kind of that kind of
right.
thing. So, and with Guardians of the Galaxy, they turned an incredibly unknown property into a multi-billion-dollar property. So I have faith in them. They haven't given me a whole lot of reason to not have faith in them. And Oscar Isaac is amazing. So
Yeah.
hey, man, I'm out of all the stuff that they announced, I might be the most hyped for this one.
Yeah, it's in my top 2 or 3 for sure. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about that.
They had already sort of confirmed a Hawkeye show, but they did also confirm that we are getting Kate Bishop, and that she's going to be played by, is it Haley Steinfeld? Is that the
Um,
pronunciation?
I think so.
Yeah, we can fact check that real quick. Um, yeah, so let's see. Yeah, so she is going to be played. Yeah, yeah, I was correct. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Yeah, Haley Steinfeld, and I believe she has a Disney history. I'm not really familiar with her, to be honest, but I think she's like one of those Disney Channel kids or something.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think you're right.
I might get
I
some hate mail for being like one of those Disney Channel kids. Somebody's gonna send me like 2 pages, and it's gonna be like, "She was such and such character on this show, and it was amazing."
Right.
And yeah, we'll go from there. um, this was not really surprising. I'm excited for the show. I think Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye is great. If we get to see him, taking people out with the sword, and he's still doing the Ronin thing to an extent, that will be really cool.
Yeah. And here's the really interesting thing. I told you I wanted to talk a little bit about this one.
Yeah,
Um, what my research says is that Maya Lopez, who is Echo, is going to be somewhere in this series, possibly a villain, possibly something else. And she's actually Ronin in the comics. And she was originally, her first appearance was in Daredevil. That's the only reason I even know who she is.
right.
Um,
I was wondering. I
and
was like
yes, her first
processing
appearance was
that.
in Daredevil in '99 with David Mack as the writer. And here's the other thing that's interesting. Like Taskmaster, she has photographic reflexes. So she can watch someone uh, perform a skill and then she can perform it. So you kind of have something going on here with Black Widow and Hawkeye. If she's a villain, kind of having parallel uh, situations with their villains. And I don't know, and I don't know if you know Echo. She's actually deaf. So
That's a cool
she,
like power or
y-
feature.
yeah, and here she is in Daredevil. He's blind, she's deaf. It's a little bit.
A little on
You
the
got to
nose.
kind of roll your eyes. All right, guys, what's next?
Yeah.
But I really liked her in Daredevil. Again, come to find out she was Ronin, whereas in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Hawkeye becomes Ronin. So it's really interesting the way they've kind of layered this thing.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think we could see some really cool stuff from it. And there's no telling, this was the one where they were like, there's no telling who could show up. They dropped that line specifically on this show. So I wonder if there's a greater MCU presence too. I don't want them to have you know, like Thor show up and just like take everybody's attention off of the main characters. But I kind of wonder if there's some greater MCU connection here that we're not aware of, maybe a villain or something like that, that they're going to be going after. Because once again, it's important to keep in mind all this stuff is connected. So, you know,
Yes.
with all these shows, almost all of them have a major MCU actor in them. You actually have one of the core Avengers as the main character here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm excited about it. I'm also speaking of the core Avengers. We segue right into the next thing they announced: She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Um, we got She-Hulk as an announcement, and this had been heavily rumored too. And I thought that this was interesting. Um, Tatiana Maslany, I think is the pronunciation, is going to play Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk. Um, she's a lawyer, which is kind of a interesting twist on it. A little Matt Murdock action there. Um, and they did confirm that Mark Ruffalo will be in the show. And they listed him. as Bruce Banner slash the Hulk. So are we gonna get Professor Hulk, or will he be kind of back into? Are they gonna like have him, go back into being Banner and then he kind of rages out type thing? I don't know. And then and a really interesting. This was so out of left field. Is all the way back to the like 2008 Incredible Hulk movie. They're bringing back the same actor to play the Abomination.
Yeah, Tim Roth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's really interesting. And yeah, I'm a fan of She-Hulk. As far as who's playing her, I guess Savannah Evans wasn't available. That's
Right.
fine. But she's one of the more interesting characters for anyone that kind of digs down again to that C or D level and starts reading about her because the lawyer thing plays really interesting in the comics for her career. Um, and member of the Fantastic Four and the Avengers.
Right. Yeah. That's an interesting one. Um, I'm excited for this. We'll see. I don't know when we're gonna get it. Apparently it's gonna start filming in Atlanta in February 2021. So we don't get it this year. Definitely. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously we're filming this in mid December. We don't get it next year. We probably get it into 2022.
right.
Some of this stuff is way out. MCU likes to go out 5 years. Kevin Feige has talked about this. Basically they have a 10-year plan, and basically they'll come out and put 5 years out on the table for us, and then that back five is kind of in their back pocket. So they've always got stuff to announce, which is smart.
Yeah, DC could learn from that little scheduling,
DC's got like the next 2 months in their pocket.
if that, 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah, they're getting better. They are getting
Hey,
better about that. I'll
well,
give them
speaking
credit.
of that, let me take you back to Winter Soldier for a minute. I was thinking about the HBO Max stuff and them announcing the connection there with the DC stuff. And I could picture the Disney guys kind of laughing in the corner and again back to Winter Soldier going on your left
Yeah,
as they
yeah.
pass them and lap them. You know what I mean? With
I'm
these
surprised the internet
announcements.
hasn't made a gif out of that yet.
Yeah, I mean, I that just came immediately to mind when you compare. Oh, we got Matrix 4? Okay. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
watch this, guys.
yeah. Here's everything.
Right.
And they didn't only do that to them. They did it to Netflix.
Oh
They
yeah.
did it to all the other streaming services. They basically said, we have all this original content that people love. We don't have to go out and make a new property.
Right.
We can simply build on these that we have all this room to do, and give all the give people all this stuff that they wanted, that maybe they couldn't spend $200 million making a movie of. You know,
Yeah. And if you
um,
recall, during part of our discussion about this a week ago, almost, I said, Disney stock sure is up today. I wonder why.
yeah,
you
it's through
know,
the
I
roof.
mean, just all of this stuff, just they got a grip on the future, man.
They do. Speaking of the future, so these last two are very intriguing to me. They announced, and this was puzzling. I scratched my head. I'm still scratching my head over this one. Secret Invasion, featuring the return of Ben Mendelsohn and Samuel L. Jackson. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're just kicking it off with those two being in there. But in my opinion, if you're going to do Secret Invasion, and number one, you would think this would have been a film, this would have been a movie,
Right.
but it's going to be a
Right.
show.
Yeah.
So are they going to downplay Secret Invasion hugely, and is it going to just be this buddy cop show where they like uncover random scrolls every week, or have they just not announced the real scope of this thing yet?
Yeah. I wonder if this is like you're saying, almost a prequel to what will be a movie.
Maybe, or
I mean,
maybe they're like the main characters, and they're gonna have all these like MCU folks, and they just haven't written it yet to see who all's gonna be in it.
here's my thing. I can't picture scrolls without thinking Fantastic Four.
True.
So maybe this is like a place marker, and then Fantastic Four comes along, and then you have the full Secret Invasion movie with every all the pieces in place.
Yeah, maybe. And this would also be a way that they could If they really, need to dig into the well, they can always have Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. show up as like a scroll, basically, if they wanted
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
You know, because honestly, like that would be that they could do some cool stuff with that. You
Definitely.
know, I could see them like fucking with Peter Parker. Like Scroll shows up as like Tony Stark, and that would drive him insane. Um,
Absolutely.
so interested on that. That one to me could go either way. It could be Agents of Shield season one, uh, and I mean that as in bad, or it could be amazing. So it could go either way.
Well, Sam Jackson's in it, so I'll watch it.
Same, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll definitely watch it either way. This one, honestly, this last one is maybe I could be the most excited about this. I'll be honest. So they're gonna do Armor Wars, which will feature Don Cheadle, who I'm a big fan of. He will be
Yep.
returning as War Machine, and it will be starring Dominique Thorne. And we're basically going to they're going to do an Ironheart show, essentially.
Right.
What's your thoughts about this? Because me personally, super excited about it. I love the concept of them doing more stuff with like the Iron Man armor and exploring like how Tony Stark's technology has changed the world. Because in Iron Man 2, that was like something that they really went into. Is like, okay, in the first one, he's got the suit, and now everyone's trying to copy it. And then that kind of had to go to the wayside because we got Thanos and Ultron, that these
Right.
galactic threats. So we didn't really get to see a whole lot more about that universe. It would have been great if they had ever made an Iron Man 3, but they just never did.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, well, as far as Armor Wars, I'm not as familiar with the comic book basis of that storyline. So with Don Cheadle, I'll watch obviously, and for me, it's just going to be a I'll tune in and see.
Yeah, I mean the way they described it was basically like this is Tony Stark's worst fear that his technology has fallen into the wrong hands. And the rumor too, and I don't think they confirmed this, but the rumor is that Sam Rockwell is going to return as Justin Hammer.
Okay.
And I love Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
So his Justin Hammer was amazing. I think super underrated villain in the MCU. Um, he was fun to watch.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about this. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to that one. And again, I don't really have a background for that, so yeah, it'll be fresh for me.
Yeah. So that's the TV show slate. Now, that's huge, but I do want to briefly talk about some of the movie stuff because that is there. They did announce Black Widow is going to keep its theatrical release date, which is
Yeah.
in May now. We were
Oh, is it
supposed to,
May? Okay.
yeah, we were supposed to get it like I think in like April or something earlier this year, or maybe May this year, and then it kept
Yeah.
getting pushed back, and finally they said no, we're just going to push it to like May 2021. I thought that they might announce here, sort of as a clapback to the HBO Max announcement, which this very podcast we did an episode about, and you can hear that everywhere you get your podcast from, starring Heath Mulligan as from the Double Dropkick Show and the Heath Mulligan Project. So that's a good episode. We ran down all the HBO Max stuff.
Yep.
Um, I really thought we might get, hey, Black Widow is just going to come to Disney Plus now. No, they're sticking to their guns. Marvel
Yeah.
knows they own the silver screen.
Yeah. And I'll be there opening night.
Me too. If
That was
anybody,
my plan this year. That's going to be my plan whenever it comes out.
yeah, if anything is going to get people to come back to the movies, it's the MCU,
Right. Exactly.
and I think they know that. So that being said, that was an interesting take. I want to see the damn movie. What's bad is it's done. If they really wanted to, they could be like, it comes out tomorrow on Disney Plus. Have at it.
Yes. Yes.
But they
And
don't.
and I
They
don't
don't
care
have
if they
to.
charged. I would buy it.
I don't think they would though.
Well,
I
they
don't
did
think
with
they would.
Milan.
That's true. That's true. I think that went poorly though. But I think they announced. I don't really want to get into it, but I think they did announce another movie is going to be doing that same kind of thing. So maybe they would. I don't know, but the MCU owns, has been keeping theater chains open for years
Yeah.
and years now, and I don't think it'll be any different in 2020. Something I wanted to mention here is that they kind of established almost a trilogy type feel. I said we would kick back to WandaVision here. So apparently WandaVision, Doctor Strange 2, which Doctor Strange 2, which is titled Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, is
Yes.
being directed by Sam Raimi, who comic book fans will know as a director of the original Spider-Man trilogy. Um, a lot of people are more excited about this than I am. But, I'm excited for the movie. I'm not like I wasn't like, "Oh my god, Sam Raimi is directing it," but I know a lot of people are. So, I'm interested to see what happens with that.
Yeah, and I think it was confirmed that the Doctor Strange movie will include Scarlet Witch and will be connected to the Spider-Man, which is again supposed to be a multiverse story.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ties there that Doctor Strange is going to have to connect.
Yeah, we'll cut back to Spider-Man at the end for sure, because there's a lot of meat and potatoes there. But, yeah, so the trilogy is gonna kinda be WandaVision, the show, heavily feeds into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which is
Right.
gonna heavily feature into Spider-Man 3, which Doctor Strange is confirmed to be in.
There you go.
So I thought that was an interesting thing.
Yeah.
They didn't announce a whole lot about Thor: Love and Thunder. We actually have already gotten a lot of announcements about that, but I do want to quickly talk about they did cast Christian Bale like almost a year ago, and for the past year, podcasts and websites and everybody else have been speculating on who he's playing. They have confirmed that he is going to play Gore the God Butcher. Um, which I think that is going to be a good villain for them. It's kind of to the point where you have to at this point in time go kind of all out to find somebody that can fight Thor anyway, right? In any believable manner. And if we're gonna get Jane Foster as Thor in this, I'm interested to see where that goes. Are we
Well,
gonna get some big ending battle where it's Jane Foster and Chris Hemsworth, and they both have like the Thor powers, and they're kind of fighting together. That would be an interesting thing. I know Thor is not your cup of tea, um,
no.
but I'm interested to see where this goes, just because I'm a huge fan of Christian Bale anyway. Even if I didn't care about Thor at all, I will watch a movie just because Christian Bale is in it.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'll give you one prediction despite me not being that interested in it. Look for Beta Ray Bill to show up.
I think so. I think the fandom has almost demanded it. Even
Yeah.
if it's just an after credit scene
Right.
where he shows up and he's like, "Oh, there's my damn hammer," and he like just takes Stormbreaker and he's like, "I'm out,"
Right.
um, or something like that would be interesting and funny. But I think that might happen. Um, they did announce that they will not recast the role of T'Challa, which I think everybody respects that decision and is happy about.
Yes.
It is hard to imagine anyone else being T'Challa other than Chadwick Boseman. So I'm glad that they have not said who will take up the mantle of Black Panther, but we'll see. I
Yeah, I think July 2022, and they said it's going to focus more on Wakanda.
Yeah, I think we could see Okoye take up the mantle. She's a big
Okoye,
Yeah,
not
she's a big
Shuri.
enough star. I would so if I had a choice, it would be Shuri.
Hmm.
But I think that Okoye is a bigger star, and she's a bigger part of the MCU.
Hmm.
Because she was
Okay.
also in Endgame as well.
Yeah. True.
Um, I don't know. I would prefer that it be Shuri,
Yeah. I think most fans would agree with that.
but maybe they kind of split it up. Where Shuri it becomes maybe the Queen of Wakanda and can focus on like running Wakanda, and then maybe the Black Panther is instead Okoye now, and she's kind of like the protector
Yeah.
type thing. I don't know. I really love Shuri, but it's like, how do you make her like the queen and like a super scientist and the Black Panther? All this like it's just that's too many layers. I think,
Yeah.
and the character would just get ridiculous. I think so. I would love for it to be Shuri because she's one of my favorite characters in the MCU. Um, As a matter of fact, when we did our top 5, she was on my list. But we'll see how that goes. Um, they did briefly announce that Fantastic Four is in the works. They didn't announce any casting really or plot threads or anything like that. But they showed the logo, which is, let's be honest, that's all they needed to do. And they announced that it's going to be directed by none other than John Watts, who is the director of the MCU Spider-Man trilogy. And I think this is a smart move, man, because John Watts has proven that he can take a character, successful or not, that's already existed outside of the MCU and format that character for the MCU.
Oh, well, here's my suggestion.
Okay.
We take the entire Fantastic Four property, trade it to DC, bring us Green Lantern. We'll fix all the issues there, and let Green Lantern join the Avengers or whoever he wants to join, and just be done with it.
They would be foolish to make that trade, so DC would probably go for it.
There you go.
Uh, I am not a huge like Fantastic Four fan myself. As a matter of fact, if it were up to me, I would put each of those characters in other properties. You know, like I
Okay.
would split them up and put them in different properties. Like I would probably put Ben Grimm in like the Guardians, and like do things like that, and just kind of like split them off into other properties, because they own the characters. But I think they have to try to make it work first, and then if it fails, they can either split the characters up or they can just completely trash the entire franchise. They already trashed the comics once and said we're not even going to make this a comic anymore. Um, but I'll see, man. It is Disney. It is the MCU. It's Kevin Feige, so I have faith in it. I will give it a shot. But I think if this movie doesn't succeed, then that property is dead for 10, 20 years.
Or longer, let's hope.
Yeah, or maybe yeah, maybe they put it on the shelf until like they get super desperate when they run out of season 11 of Hawkeye, in 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
They can go dig that up. They can recast a like 50-year-old Chris Evans as Johnny Storm.
Ugh.
Uh, um, so that was interesting. I'm excited that they got John Watts doing it. Um, Here's another announcement. They announced that the title for Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to be Quantumania. I don't re- Wasn't that what the second one was called? They used the fucking word quantum in that movie like 70,000 times. If you were
Right.
to have a drinking game and you got to sit down and watch Ant-Man and the Wasp, and every time they say quantum, you got to take a shot, you're going to be in the ER before that movie's halfway over.
Yeah. Yeah. The name, I don't know. They weren't trying too hard. That's all I can say.
I'm interested to see where this goes. What I am excited about is that they did confirm that Jonathan Majors, who is probably most well known for Lovecraft Country, is going to be Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, that's a great villain, and I'm glad they're bringing him in. But I hope he wrecks Ant-Man and Wasp in this. To be honest with you,
Right. If
because
they one
it,
and done Kang in this movie, people will go ape shit in a bad way.
yeah, yeah, I agree.
I don't think they will though, because Kevin Feige has already stated that Kang is the most powerful villain in Phase 4. Period.
Yeah,
So I think Kang is, if he's not the new Thanos, then and he might be, but he's at least a phase villain. So he's, your Ultron or your Loki or whatever for this phase. So, maybe when they do another Avengers, maybe he's the main villain in the next Avengers movie.
yeah,
He's certainly an Avengers level threat.
he is, and that's why I said I hope he wrecks Ant-Man and Wasp. Because I mean, let's be honest. Of all the single or two-person teams, they're one of the weaker ones.
Yeah, and maybe they're responsible for bringing him in. Maybe them fucking around with time and like the quantum realm is what kind of like puts like our reality on his radar.
That's got to be right.
Yeah,
That's got to be the way it is.
and maybe that he's just kind of like, hey, these people are fucking with the timeline.
Yeah.
So that could be it. That's all of the like real announcements, but I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't spend a minute talking about all the stuff revolving around Spider-Man 3. There's so much rumor out there. Um, they didn't announce anything. They really blew balls to us, and I think Sony probably wants to keep this announcement for themselves.
Yeah. Can I touch
Um,
on one more thing on Ant-Man though?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Before we move forward, go ahead.
My understanding with Cassie Lang, which is Ant-Man Scott Lang's daughter,
Yes,
there's a strong rumor that they're going to start building her up to be Stature, who is
yes.
in the Young Avengers, and this will lead to a Young Avengers franchise.
I could totally see them doing that because they're also doing Miss Marvel. They're also doing they're doing Kate Bishop.
Whoops. Yeah,
Um,
and I don't know if you read the original, like when the Young Avengers first came out, but it was really good comic.
I've not read it, but I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah,
So
definitely a good one.
yeah, that is something that I think we could see coming down the line for sure. Now, do they do that on Disney Plus? That's a
Yeah,
if
yeah,
all if most of the characters are from Disney Plus shows, it would make sense, but we'll
yeah. Could
see.
do a series.
They can do whatever they want. um,
Right.
but yeah, let's get into Spider-Man 3. So it is widely rumored that this movie is going to be live action Spider-Verse because of how popular Into the Spider-Verse is, and that they will get Andrew Garfield back and Tobey Maguire. And that they will also get Doc Ock back, that they will get um, Electro back from
Yeah,
those franchises. And even that we would see MJ from the original franchise, that she would come in, and that we would also get Emma Stone to come back as Gwen,
nice.
uh, and possibly do a Spider Gwen for this multiverse movie. They didn't really announce anything about it. But I could see Sony wanting to have all three of them, to have McGuire and Garfield and Holland kind of walk out on the stage together and have that big moment.
Right.
And I was expecting that they would announce that Spider-Man 3 is going to be called Into the Spider-Verse and they would do all that. But there are Sony like contractual obligations there to consider. Do you think that this happens? And do you think if it doesn't, that the fandom is incredibly disappointed? Because the rumors are everywhere. It's like every day they announce somebody else for this movie, through the
Right.
grapevine.
Yeah, what I think you got Doc Ock and Electro supposedly or potentially, right? Why not go ahead and make this your Sinister Six movie?
Right.
I mean,
Get
you got
Vulture back
two,
out.
and then we've seen a glimpse of Scorpion
Yep.
from the first Spider-Man Tom Holland movie, so that could be half your crew right there.
Yeah. You get
Um,
you get Vulture back. You get Keaton.
yeah, you could, sure, and there's four.
Well, and then there's the other rumor mill, and this is probably the most recent ones, is that Charlie Cox will play Matt Murdock, aka
Yes,
Daredevil, and that, as you know, the main villain of Into the Spider Verse is Kingpin, and that Vincent D'Onofrio will reprise his excellent role as Kingpin. I would lose my fucking mind.
me too, but they can't do all this in one movie, man. There's no way.
Right? How do you do it?
Yeah, you
It'd
can't.
have to be 3.5 hours. It'd have to be another end game.
I
And
mean,
and
I'm fine with that if they can do it in 3.5. I'll watch it.
and I think that they are building this Spider-Man movie to sort of be a not in game level, but to be this like big. I think that this Spider-Man movie, if it ends up being into the multiverse, I think this Spider-Man movie will be the biggest movie in Phase 4. I think it
Yeah,
will take the place of an Avengers type movie for now, which
yeah,
gives them time to rebuild the Avengers main roster,
yeah. No, that makes perfect sense.
because that would be huge. But if Charlie Cox is in it, he's probably just gonna be in it as Matt Murdock, or he's in it for like, 20 seconds or whatever as Daredevil. because you can't like really properly introduce him to the screen and then also have the multiverse storyline and
Right.
20 years ago Spider-Man showing up, and you just can't.
Right.
I hear that the cause for the delay on all of this is that they don't have Tobey Maguire locked in.
Mm.
He probably knows that he can basically ask for whatever. Because
Yeah,
if they got
sure.
everybody else locked in, they can't do it without Tobey Maguire. But ask Terrence Howard, they'll fuck you up. you know, you can negotiate for a little while, but don't be crazy about it. Don't ask for that
Right.
Robert Downey Jr. money.
Yeah. Don't ask for a small island or anything.
Yeah, yeah, they'll have Don Cheadle playing fucking Peter Parker in 10 seconds, like nothing ever happened.
Yep.
So, all right, man. That's kind of everything. So out of this Marvel stuff, what piques your interest the most? I think I know the answer to that question. And then, if there is there anything that you're just either the least interested in or not interested in at all?
Yeah, so for the shows, definitely Loki and Hawkeye. And then because I've been waiting so long, Black Widow for the movies for sure. Obviously the Spider-Man stuff we just talked about, but all that's got to come together.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say. I think the thing that intrigues me the most is probably Armor Wars, just because I didn't think it was coming. I'm a big fan of Don Cheadle as War Machine, and I'm excited about Ironheart as a character.
Yeah,
But so much of this stuff is good. We talked about the Loki trailer and how good it looks. I mean, if there's anything here that I'm just not interested in at all, it's probably Miss Marvel, and I'll still watch that.
yeah,
Um, and then none of the movies. I mean, Fantastic Four is probably the thing I'm least interested in, and they
yeah, same.
could absolutely knock that out of the park. That's the thing about it is they could make Fantastic Four amazing because it's very well liked in the comics. So we'll see, man. We'll see. That's kind of my final thoughts on it. You got anything else you want to say?
That's pretty much it. Like I said, if we can work a trade out, I'd ship Fantastic Four right on over to those guys over at WB and DC and all that. They
Uh,
can have it.
can we get Idris Elba to be John Stewart?
That'd be perfect.
Yeah. All right. I'm in. I'm in.
Speaking of that, he was in there was an article I read. He was unhappy with his role in the Thor movies. He wanted more.
Yeah. He deserved more,
So so
especially in Ragnarok.
John Stewart would be perfect for him.
Yeah, I would. I thought that they downplayed Heimdall way too much
Yeah.
in the Thor
Yeah.
movies because, well, here's the thing, right? It's like you can't really have somebody fight Heimdall and beat him, right? Like Heimdall is the shit. It takes a very
Right.
powerful person to mess with Heimdall. Like the dude literally can see like through different realities.
Yeah.
Um, and he's such a great character, but I really thought they ruined him hard in Ragnarok because at the end you're thinking you're gonna get to see this awesome like Heimdall versus Fenris like fight, and we never get it. And he doesn't. He just kind of like leads the refugees around, and you don't really get to see him do anything cool.
Yeah.
Um, and I hated that. As a matter of fact, Thor: Dark World is probably the movie that he gets the best screen time in. So, um, and the most screen time at that. So, that
Yeah.
being said, man, definitely thank you for joining me and running all this down. This was just such a big announcement. I mean, possibly the biggest day of announcements
Yeah.
in nerd movie cinema TV history, I would
Definitely.
say. And this was monumentous, and I'm glad you came on and talked to us about it a little bit. If you want to hear some more Joe Brown, you can always check out Suplexes and Microphones. And you guys are available pretty much everywhere under.
Yeah. Under at Suplexes Mics, we got YouTube, all of our podcasts or videos, and you can always check us out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well at Suplexes Mics.
And as I have probably ran this into the ground about 50,000 times this season, We are available on Facebook. We are available on YouTube, but we are now also available pretty much anywhere you can get your audio podcasts. We are not quite there on Apple yet, but we're working on it. We are on Google Podcasts. We are on. I swear I have nothing to do with the Apple thing. We're on Anchor. We're on Spotify. We're in all these places you can get your podcasts. So definitely tune into the audio versions of these as well. We typically, we air these episodes on Sunday nights, and typically the audio version will be up and live the next day. So, we've been getting pretty close to day and date on the audio versions of these. So, thanks for tuning in. We've been getting some good listens on that, and this has been an Evolved Review.